I think one of the best $80 I've ever spent, and this is gonna sound so dumb, is getting one of those apps that track your miles. Because I
Oh,
suck at
yeah.
tracking my miles, and so I just swipe like left for home or whatever, personal, and right for work. If I don't have that bank statement, if I don't have that bank balance, my credit card is not swiping, and I only use my credit card. I will never ever use my
Right.
debit card unless I absolutely have to. Get your benefits
Right.
on your credit card, use your credit cards, be smart, get your credit score up, pay off your credit cards literally 3 days after the purchase, call it quit.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified. I am your host, Jax or Jacqueline Crider. And today we have Mr. Ethan Donovan. He is the owner, a young entrepreneur of the Donovan Marketing Agency, Donovan Creative Agency, apologies. And anyways, it is a marketing firm. So we were super excited to have him on today. He is going to give us some great Gen Z perspective. We like to have a lot of varying opinions on this show. And so he's going to give a great example. So welcome, Ethan. Tell us a little bit about you, yourself, your business, and why you're excited to be on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. First of all, my name's Ethan Donovan with Donovan Creative Agency. Grew up playing hockey. Now I am a 19-year-old entrepreneur and business owner. My marketing agency, aka creative agency as well, does social media marketing, graphic design, video editing, and videography. I think most what I'm just excited about today is just getting to talk and kind of getting different perspectives on financial situations and just everything revolving around that. Because, like you said, pre-show, like it's different all around, for different generations, different people, just all of that fun stuff. So I'm really excited to kind of talk about, especially the mental side of how money works, and kind
Yeah.
of dig deeper into that.
For sure. Well, I mean, I think so many people don't really understand that money is way more all encompassing, right? Like we focus so much
Right.
on the nuts and bolts of it, which is like, do we have enough of it?
Hmm.
Are we making enough of it, et cetera? And that perspective even changes over the course of generations
Right.
or maybe how you were raised, things like that. But there's so many different like facets to money, and it really does touch pretty much every aspect of our lives, because
Hmm.
even before we were using traditional forms of money, right, which now are, I mean, dang near digital, almost nobody carries cash anymore.
Right.
It's such a novelty almost. But anyhow, before all of that, I mean, we had like a bartering system way back in the day before there was actual physical money or things of that sort. So money is just kind of an interesting topic in general.
Hmm.
And so, as you know, kind of our goal here is really to create different perspectives, help people understand that just because they think differently about money doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad.
Right.
And you can really financially succeed no matter which path you take in life, as long
Hmm.
as you kind of take the bull by the horns, figure out exactly where you're going and heading,
Right.
and just do some things with some intentionality, right? And always be kind of learning. And so that's sort of the premise or the perspective on why we do that, why we do what we do as far as the show is concerned. But yes, I agree with you. I think the perspective of money is quite different.
Yep.
Your grandparents are much younger probably than mine, and I had older grandparents, so they were like smack dab in like the Great Depression era. They
Right.
were like living and witnessing that whole experience, and so it definitely gave my family a unique perspective on money
Hmm.
because they didn't really have a lot of money,
Right.
right?
Right.
Whereas your generation is living in a time where there has been lots of plenty for, as a general rule, right?
Hmm.
And it's a little bit different of a perspective. So,
Right.
what do you think has affected you, I guess, the most in all of that kind of perspective?
For me, we growing up, my parents weren't the richest. Like they were lower classmen. They came from rags, basically. The rags to riches for them. They worked their butt off. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked all the way through in IT, and my mom homeschooled us. So my dad, being the only moneymaker in the family, slowly climbed up the ranks. Like he did well in corporate, he did well in IT. But I think the turning point for my family was, keep in mind they had 4 kids and I'm the last kid. I think the turning point was when my mom finally got basically almost all of us to college. All my 3 older siblings were in college. I was like a sophomore in high school or a junior, somewhere around there. And the difference was really when my mom made her own volleyball club and created her own volleyball club for her. And so when she created her own volleyball club, now at first, you got to pay some dues off for some bills for the startup. But that's when I think money really started to ease in for them and make them more of a middle class family. Because in this day and age, you can't just work really off of one income. Like it's not very feasible for many families, and I can say that something like across that because like for my generation, it's going to be really hard for myself to get a house, right? I mean, me and my
Sure.
girlfriend can work together and go get a house,
Sure.
but I wouldn't be able to maintain a house all by myself. Like that's not feasible. So like if my parents kicked me out, I'd have to go, live in an apartment, and even that's honestly not feasible for some 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds.
For sure.
Um but to bounce back to my family, like that's when they started to really become middle class. They were able to flip our house in Allen, Texas for about 150 extra grand. And they basically bought a bigger house by 2,000 square feet in Salina for the same price as the Allen house, which was a 1 story. So
Right.
it was a pretty big difference in real estate alone. But once they kind of got settled there, my mom opened her company. Everyone kind of moved on to college, and I'm like almost there. The real reason they opened up that business in the first place was because I played AAA hockey, AAA club hockey, and I traveled every other week. My parents
That's
spent
crazy.
minimum my parents spent minimum 50 to 100 grand on me every year to go travel the United States of America and just play hockey. And it was a blast. I gotta say, I had a great time, and I'm really thankful and grateful for those opportunities because I got to live in St. Louis as well. They rented out an apartment, so I didn't have to bill it. Basically, meaning I have to go stay with a different family there that nobody knows, basically, except that organization. And they do background checks and screening and stuff like that.
Sure.
But you hear a lot of bad stories when it comes to billet families and stuff like that. So my parents got me an apartment right across the street. I could go to the rink whenever I wanted. I could work out. There was a big gym. I mean, I basically had the life as far as, being middle class. Like, I feel like for Gen Z, especially, the difference is they have the money. Their parents most likely probably do have more money than what you said, like your grandparents' generation, stuff like that did. Like, so for me, and we talked about this a little bit pre-show too, is I can stay home and I can feel comfortable and not have to worry about my next food. What's on my plate? I got a roof over my head. Like I have nothing to stress about. Compared to back then, like I would say I think it's fair to say most people got kicked out by 18. I mean, my parents got kicked out by 18. And so that's just a totally different story where my parents got kicked out, but I'm not getting kicked out. And my parents went from rags to riches, and I don't have to do that because my parents aren't enforcing that because
Sure.
especially in this inflation and everything else, like it's not
Oh,
ideal to move out, right? So I'm
no, it's
just
not.
doing
Well, and it's interesting. There's a lot of cultures who have actually argued that the traditional way of the United States, which is like your kids turn 18 and then they leave the nest
right.
and they go and become adults, is actually negatively affecting us financially
Hmm.
because a lot of the times wealth comes from people sort of living and congregating together,
Right.
getting everybody in a position where then they can go and, like you said, kind of purchase a house because it's really hard. So my brother and his wife, she actually does stay at home. She's kind of starting her own little side
Right.
hustle kind of situation, but they have
Right.
4 kids and she stays at home. And it's a very big sacrifice on them. They
Hmm.
live a lot more minimalistic, Lee, than like
Right.
how I like to live. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but it is really hard. And we've kind of come to a position in the US where living on just one income, it's not just hard from the actual day-to-day financials, like that is a challenge, but also
Hmm.
is a challenge because what happens if there's only just like one primary breadwinner in the house, there's just only one person making money, whether it
Right.
be, the man, the woman, or, like woman, man, whatever that situation and situation is, right? It's only one person earning that money,
Hmm.
then you now have a challenge. What happens if that person loses their job, right? Or
Right.
conversely, gets really hurt, right? So there's
Hmm.
still, living, which is good, the good
Right.
aspect, right? But they
Right.
now are significantly disabled, and so they can't do a regular job. Like, how does this, change your life? How does it affect your life? And so
Right.
it's interesting to sort of see the change, sort of, if you will. I think the
Mm-hmm.
best thing about the United States, which I was having a conversation with a Gen Zer the other day about capitalistic economy and how she firmly doesn't believe that there should be such a thing as like millionaires and billionaires for like basically that people like who are at the top of a company shouldn't be able to earn that kind of money, that
Hmm.
should be kind of prohibited. And I said, well, I don't necessarily have a problem if they started their own business, but I could definitely
Right.
understand, like, from the corporate greed perspective, if you didn't like start that company and then now you're rolling in as a CEO and you're getting
Right.
paid like these multi millions of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
kind of how that can, change
Right.
things, if you will. But it's just interesting because I think a lot of times money has shifted over the course of time, and it's not
Yep.
necessarily a negative thing. You have to kind of decide. Because, for instance, I've got three stepdaughters, and they all have wildly different viewpoints on whether they're good living with other people like us or on their own, right? So, like, the
Right.
oldest, if she had her way, she would live with other people probably forever. Although she did take a most recent turn where she now is living in her own dorm. I was very
Okay.
surprised and
Yep.
proud that she did made that choice. And then the middle one, she definitely loves being around family. She finds it more financially feasible for her to
Mm-hmm.
live, in our household and just contribute with bills or rent, whatever kind of
Right.
situation. And then the youngest is very independent. She is, I don't want to be in y'all's space. I got enough money to get on my feet, and okay, I'm getting the heck
Right.
out, right? Very different perspectives, very different attitudes. So I think it's also important to remember, just because your generation is probably spending more time living at home longer,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has that philosophy, even in your own generation, right?
Right. And who's to say that they're actually saving that money to move out and doing something with that money? I mean, somebody my
Sure.
age could be so dumb enough to just buy whatever they see and like, I want it, I get it. I take it. That's mine now. So like
Yep.
it's just like having that self-discipline of like, sooner than later you do have to move out. And it's funny that you say like people living at house with their parents, right? Because when you come from like rags to riches, your parents' goal or their parents' goal was to make sure that you guys were fundamentally and financially secured, right? And
Sure.
so they're always willing to give you the money, give you the assets, whatever it might be. But then when you go up, kind of like almost like corporate, like how you brought up, the CEO, stuff like that. But when you go to these millionaires, billionaires, they're like, I'm not giving my kid a cent. Like they need to go out and make it for themselves. So that's another like difference in comparison of how other people think. Because you got people coming from rags to riches, like, oh, I want to give you my wealth. We worked hard for it. Like we want to pass this on. And then you got like the millionaire, billionaires, even some middle class probably were like, no, that's my money.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors. Imagine having the power to control your financial destiny, no matter where you start. Welcome to the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform, where financial education is tailored to your unique journey. We cover everything you need, from basic budgeting and saving strategies to advanced investing and retirement planning. Learn at your own pace with lessons that match your level of experience. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your financial knowledge, join our community of learners and benefit from shared insights and expert guidance. The Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform equips you with the skills and confidence to take charge of your financial future. Ready to master your finances? Enroll in our courses today at the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform. Start your path to financial independence now.
Hello, and welcome to PBJ Mortgage, where your home ownership dreams become reality. Today, we want to share why choosing PBJ Mortgage is the right choice for your home financing needs. At PBJ Mortgage, we're built on a foundation of values that drive us every day. Our commitment to educate, empathize, and empower our clients sets us apart in the mortgage industry. Our clients are at the heart of everything we do, and their success stories speak volumes. With years of experience, our team possesses in-depth knowledge of the mortgage programs, ensuring you receive expert guidance and the best possible rates. We offer a diverse range of loan options to suit your unique needs, including conventional, FHA, VA, and more. No matter your situation, we've got a solution. At PBJ Mortgage, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service. Our dedicated loan officers are here to guide you every step of the way, making the process as smooth as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We understand that time is of the essence, which is why we've streamlined our processes for efficiency and convenience. Transparency and clear communication are paramount. You'll always know where you stand throughout your mortgage journey. Reach out to us today to set up a call to discover your options. If you're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality, contact PBJ Mortgage today. Let us empower you during this exciting journey. Phone number 4-693-733-107 www.pbjteam.com. Visit our website or give us a call to get started. We look forward to helping you secure your future home. PBJ Mortgage, where home begins.
Thanks for your patience. Now back to our conversation.
Like, we're not giving you a
So
cent.
I'll tell you, this is very interesting. So first of all, my mother has a saying, and I don't disagree with her on it. We're not raising children, we're raising adults. And so many people these days are not raising adults, they're raising children, right? And eventually, the truth of the matter is, no matter how healthy you are, how financially secure you are, how whatever you are, at some point in time, you're going to pass. And
Right.
so your children need to know how to be fully functioning adults, right?
Right.
From a financial perspective, from a, being able to live on their own perspective, right? Like whether that's cooking or cleaning or whatever it is. And so I'm a very firm believer in like making sure that your children are ingrained with just basic life skills. Not that every
Right.
family obviously does that for their children, but I do feel like it is an important factor, if you will. Okay.
Right.
However, I think a lot of people don't realize that what a lot of really wealthy people end up doing is if they do have money to go to their children, they tie it up very heavily in trust, which holds really specific conditions. Like in the trust, and for those of you who are listening that don't know, I have a law degree and I actually took trust when I was in law school. And one of the things is that you can literally control your money beyond the grave via trust. So you could say, great, Ethan is a great kid. He's my kid. But if Ethan decides to start smoking, he's not going to get any money from the trust then, right? And so before any money gets distributed out to Ethan, if he's smoking, then, that doesn't happen. Or maybe there's something else I don't like, right? I don't like when you race cars or something. I don't know. Right. And so if you're racing cars, then you're not getting any money or whatever. And so it's a way for wealthier people to sort of kind of control. But what I see is, so I grew up sort of middle class. And then by the time I was getting into high school, my parents were kind of bubbling up into that upper middle class range. Right. And I went to school with kids where literally I was like the poor kid. Okay. And what I mean by the poor kid is I mean, like, we were the ones who my dad was only making a couple $100,000 as opposed to making, $500,000, $1 million plus. I mean, I went to school with a guy who his dad had probably a few $1 million shy of $1 billion. Like, he was really, really, really wealthy. And it was interesting because you saw across the board these super wealthy families, and some kids were raised where they knew that they had to earn their own money, even though mom and dad had it. It was important for them to understand the importance of money and how to live, within their means and things like that. And then you saw the opposite side where mom and dad just gave them everything. They had no clue how to live in the real world whatsoever. They had no grounding, etc. So I think though, a lot of times people don't realize and recognize that you can have wealth, you can have no wealth. It really is going to be a mindset situation of like how you were raised and how you're thinking about money, because I can guarantee you there's some kids that went to high school with me that now are living still on mommy and daddy's dime. If all that money ran out, right? If for some reason, all that money disappeared, they would not know what to do. They would go to like the rungs of poverty in a second because they had no clue.
Yeah, they weren't taught it. And it's funny that you brought up the trust, because in my mom and my dad's trust, it's that you have to get a bachelor's degree. That's part of their trust. They're like, you're not getting our money. You're not getting your part of the trust if you don't get your bachelor's degree. So
Absolutely.
So most of the kids, only one sibling decided to opt out of college and didn't get their degree. The two oldest siblings got their degrees, and now I'm working on my degree now. But it was just so funny that how that was able to be controlled even if they were dead. Like, even if they were in their grave, Like, you still have to get it, or screw you, you're not getting our money, which is awesome.
There's
I totally like that, by the way. Like, I'm not opposed to that. Like, that's so funny to me. And I would do the same thing for my money, but I just think that's like hilarious almost that they can control their money in the grave.
So this is a really interesting story, but it's true. There was a gentleman who had a lot of money, lots and lots of wealth, and he
Hmm.
felt like all of his kids were spoiled brats. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's because he did that, their mom, a combination. I don't even know. Right?
Right.
This is like in the 1900s. Like he was
Right.
like a guy who had amassed a lot of wealth, and he also thought his grandchildren were also really frustratingly selfish, spoiled brats, expecting grandpa to pay for everything kind of style. Right? So
Yeah.
he put all his money in trust, and the trust stipulated that no money could be dispersed until both generations were dead. So neither
Oh
his
my
children nor his
gosh.
grandchildren would receive any money. So can you imagine, right, growing up? Because I'm sure since they maybe some of them ended up being successful, but they probably struggled a little bit through life because when grandpa died or dad died, all that money went away, right? Like
Right.
they didn't have access to any of it. So maybe they
Yeah.
had connections or something that helped them, but they didn't have but imagine getting a knock on your door when that last person passes from an attorney like, hey, Ethan, so my name is so and so. I'm the
Right.
trustee of yada yada's estate,
Mhm.
and you're now going to start receiving, I don't know, whatever it is, right?
Right.
20 grand a month or $2 million in a lump sum or whatever the amount is, right? Can you
Right.
imagine?
I mean, I want to
Like,
complain.
oh no, I know, but like such a crazy situation. Like in the state of Texas, you actually can place in trust. You can leave your money to a dog. So like if you have a
I think
pet
I
and
remember
you want
reading
your
that.
pet
Yeah.
cared for in a certain way, you can like stipulate. There's like a ton of different little nuances that you could kind of stipulate, but it's just an
That's
interesting
insane.
thing. You know how money works. Like I'll give you a funny story about my grandfather. So my grandfather, my mom's dad, my opa, they were very poor farmers.
Hmm.
They lived in West Texas. His parents were two German immigrants, and I think they had either five or six kids. He was the oldest, and so of
Hmm.
course he was required to work on the farm. He stopped going to school, I think, around sixth grade. So he had about a sixth grade education, and he was working on the farm with his dad and his brother. And at the end of the harvest, his dad would give him a little bit of money, right? And my opa, bananas were like a super new thing to the United States at the time. I never knew that that was like not a fruit we had, but apparently that is the case.
Oh,
Way
okay
back in
then.
like the early 1900s, we didn't have
Right.
bananas in our country. That was not
The
something
more
you
you
could
know.
easily access. But
Right.
they were really kind of rare, and he spent some money and he bought like 20 something bananas. But he
Hmm.
knew if he took them home that his mother was going to make him share with his siblings, and
Yeah.
he didn't want to. So what did he do? He sat under a tree and he ate like 17 bananas by himself. Okay. Which, first of all, how in the world do you fit 17 bananas? Maybe you, because you're 19, could fit 17 bananas inside of you, but I could not. I think I would throw up after about number 6. But
Yeah.
hey, okay. And the next harvest, he did the same thing. And that time, I think he ate like 15 of them. Like it was some, again, crazy number. You'd have to ask my mother, but
Right.
he said after that he really didn't have a hankering much for bananas, right?
I wonder
Um,
why.
right, because he'd eaten so many of them. But to your point, like a lot of times when you are young, you don't always necessarily spend your money on all the smartest things. He probably should have
Right.
bought 2 or 3 bananas, put the money in his pocket, taken that or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And run. And so yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times it is definitely a mindset. It is hard because when you're
Hmm.
young, you are gonna make some stupid financial mistakes. Like that's just kind of part of the gig.
I've already done it.
Yeah. Well, I
I've
mean,
already done
no
it.
matter look, my mother made me read Sound Mind Investing when I was in like 6th or 7th grade.
Right.
So I knew all the things about money, luckily. But I still made stupid decisions, right? I mean, I still didn't spend my money perfectly. There's no way
I
this
mean,
thing
I
happened.
just growing up, my mom told me no a lot, even though she had the money, of course. Like, you tell your kids no, like, just save up your own money and
Yeah,
go buy it. And so now
absolutely.
that finally got to own a business, I focused less on my hockey side of things and focused more financially and on my business side of things. It was honestly weird getting all of that money and not knowing what to do with it. Like,
Yep.
I'm making good money, but what to do with it was like, I wanted all these things as a child. Well, now I'm going to get them. And so I won't
Yep.
lie. First couple of paychecks, they added up. I got some things I wanted, some new clothes, some new shoes, a different video game, whatever that might be, right? Investments, went gambling in Oklahoma, stupid things like that, and just basically pissed it away. Well, I mean, that money was definitely better used for other things,
Sure.
stuff like that. And, money comes, money goes. You'll always be able to make more money somehow in this world. And I do truly believe that. Like, you will never, ever run out of money, because money can always come back if you're willing to work for it.
100%.
And so that's just kind of my philosophy when I do buy something, that I'm like, this is way more than I want, than I need. But at the end of the day, I have the money for it. I'm not struggling to pay bills or anything. And I can enjoy myself by getting it. And that money, if I continue to work my tail off, will come back to me. So for me, I'm just like, I'd rather buy it now, get it over with, say I got it, be happy that I got it, and then just continue to keep making that bread.
I think a lot of times it's just important for you to have perspective of like creating some level of balance, right? Like you said, I
Right.
mean, I think unfortunately, because of the scarcity mentality that got ingrained to like my grandparents and then sort of passed a little bit to my parents, there are times where that's a good thing, like to a certain
Right.
extent, right? Like for instance, my mom is not like me. If she has something that already works, like I was laughing because she was getting rid of their fondue maker that they got when they got married, which was literally legitimately
time
like
ago.
almost 50 years ago, and she still had this thing and it worked, right? First of all,
That's
things got
insane.
made to last longer back then, number one, but
Yeah.
then number two, why was she going to get rid of it? It worked just fine, right? And that was
Right.
kind of the attitude and whatever. Then sometimes we go to the opposite extreme where, it's like I'm sometimes buying the same exact thing and I don't really need a second one of it, but I liked the color. And I joke, I tell
Right.
people all the time on the podcast, I joke all the time, how many cups do you possibly need? I have like 4,000 cups and they're all in like some shade of purple.
Right.
I don't really need all of that. So again, you have to just kind of create some balance, but you do have to make some mistakes. And a lot of people don't give themselves enough grace, right? To make some mistakes. You just have to kind of be smart. You shouldn't really be putting yourself into a huge amount of debt though to get some of those wants. Because a
Right.
lot of times
Obviously.
that's
Yeah.
what people don't realize is really gonna tank them.
Right.
It's because I think, oh, it's not a big deal. I'm just gonna borrow, and I'm guilty of it. Oh, I'm just gonna, put this $2,200, whatever it is, small amount on a credit card. Well, then it adds up and it adds up
Right.
and it adds up, right? And it snowballs before too terribly long. So I always just tell people, you just need to be cognizant
Right.
of whatever that is.
Luckily,
you
I'm
are,
not
and you
guilty
wanna
of
make-
that.
Yeah.
Luckily, I stay like if I don't have that bank statement, if I don't have that bank balance, my credit card is not swiping, and I only use my credit card. I will never ever use
Right.
my debit card unless I absolutely have to. Get your benefits
Right.
on your credit card. Use your credit cards. Be smart. Get your credit score up. Pay off your credit cards. Literally 3 days after the purchase, call it quits.
Yep.
That's what I literally do. So, like for instance, I just paid $1,000 on my car for new tires, oil change, a bunch of stuff that I just didn't want to have to pay for, but obviously you have to. I need my car. That's part of my business. So
Sure.
I didn't put anything on my debit card. I didn't put anything on my credit card. I did not, I didn't go to the poker room like I wanted to with my buddy over the weekends. We didn't go to the underground poker room. I was really sad. I was really bummed out. I really wanted to go play poker. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. It just depends on the day.
Sure.
But I was like, my car needs to get this maintenance. Like it has to. Like if I can't afford this, then I'm gonna be really, really upset. And for me, I have my savings account. And I have a good savings account, but I'm not touching it. You will not
Sure.
ever catch me touch my savings account unless it's for business bills, car, something personal. Like it's got to be for a bill or a car or whatever it might be. Like it's not going to be, oh, because I want that. Like, no, I save that for something I need, not for something I wanted. The wanted
For
is
sure.
for my checking. The needed is for my savings. And so that's kind of another reason, like how I look at finances in my own, I don't know how to explain it. It's just how I look at things, I guess.
Yeah, you like I've had some conversations with some like, financial planner, some money, coach kind of people, etc. And
Mhm.
we talk a lot about just being intentional and creating a plan. And everyone's
Right.
plan looks differently because everyone's needs and wants are different. And
Right.
those needs and wants will shift over time, right? Like as
Mhm.
of right now, you don't necessarily want or need to own a house because you have, a good property that you like, that you live in, with your
Right.
parents, etc. Maybe at some point that changes, right? You and your
Right.
girlfriend maybe decide to take the next step. You want to get married, you want to have a different place to be or live or whatever, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Or maybe you decide to up and move. You decide
Right.
DFW is not the place for you anymore. You want to be, wherever else. So a lot of times I encourage my clients or people that I encounter, look, it doesn't really make a difference. I told my girls, I said, I don't care what you do for a living.
Mhm.
Like if you want to be a individual who like handles the trash, great. If that is going to provide you the lifestyle that you want
Right.
and the benefits that you want and all that kind of stuff, that's fine by me. I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
Just wherever you get there intentionally. And what people
Right.
don't realize is that if you look to the future and you say, okay, this is kind of what I'm thinking, this is what my goal is, you can work backward and kind of try to figure out. And it's not going to go perfectly, and your goals are going to
Right.
shift and they're going to change. But if you kind of put one foot in front of the other and do some education surrounding
Mhm.
money, right? You have to, it's a delicate balance between hoarding it, because there's a lot of people like that too, where they hoard it because that
Right.
scarcity thing, right? They're never going to spend any of it. And then there's some
Yep.
people who every dollar that's hitting their account, it's leaving and they're spending it. It's leaving and
Mhm.
they're spending it, right?
Right.
And
And
it's hard.
I totally understand. I'd probably say I'm more on the spender side. I won't lie. I definitely like to spend. I stay upgrading my equipment. I stay upgrading my cameras. I stay upgrading my gimbals. I stay upgrading my lighting. I stay upgrading, and I get new subscriptions. I'm like, ooh, a new non-copyright sounds, website that can, provide all my music, and I don't have to deal with the copyright issues. Way to go! It's just it's dumb things like that that make my life easier. So it's worth it in the long run. But I like, wish I didn't have to
But
spend
hey, at
that.
least you found a way to expense yours. For those of you who are
Right.
young, who are young and considering entrepreneurship, if you have a really big hobby that you could turn into a side hustle, it may be worth it financially speaking, because you got a lot of potential write-offs coming your way. Because
Absolutely.
Ethan takes all of his expensive equipment and writes it off through the Donovan Creative Agency, as he should.
It's
Those laws
amazing.
exist for a reason, to give you those breaks, for sure.
I think one of the best $80 I've ever spent, and this is going to sound so dumb, is getting one of those apps that track your miles, because I
Oh
suck at
yeah,
tracking my miles. And so I just swipe like left for home or whatever, personal, and right for work. That's
nice.
perfect. That's
Oh yeah,
perfect.
well the amount of technology that can help or whatever, and I'll be real, I think for a lot of people it just gets super overwhelming. Like
Hmm.
Financial Mastery Simplified, we actually created like a super simple budgeting tracker, because sometimes it just gets overwhelming, like to know
Right.
like how are we going about this? What are we doing? And for me, the
Hmm.
budget tracker actually has nothing to do with your big bills, because most people have those kind of mapped out. Like they know what's their
They
rent,
know.
what's their mortgage or whatever, right?
Yep.
What's their electric? Like they know all those kind of factors, or if they don't have them, right? If they're not having to pay those kind of things. What they don't realize is how much additional spending we're making doing like food. Food is like
Right.
one of the biggest things.
Oh.
Actually, I went on a huge kick here recently where I started cooking a bunch, and I
Hmm.
actually like to cook. Like I genuinely enjoy
Right.
it, but I did it because my husband kept telling me, "Oh, we we're not spending that much on food." And I'm like, "Have you looked at the credit card bill?" Yes, we spend so much money on food. And like when
Yeah.
you look at it every time it hits, I'm like, "Holy crap. It's
Hmm.
so much money."
Yep.
So
I
I
do all the
started tracking
shopping.
myself. What'd you
Yeah.
say?
I do all the shopping around the house for the most part. And so when I could have put the credit card to the scanner, I was like, okay, that's not the price it used to be. Like, that is absolutely astronomically insane. Like, that's just unbelievable. And I love to cook too. I cook steak, chicken, eggs, rice, whatever it might be. I always cook my food. I always cook my food. I've been working out a lot recently. I've been dieting well. Like, I'm eating more whole foods, stuff like that. I take that into a big consideration in my life. Just working out, dieting, stuff like that. But like, if this is again another reason why I just wouldn't want to live out on my own. Like, if I had to pay for rent, pay utilities, whatever, and then turn around with a $600 grocery bill, that should not be $600. I mean, that's not
Yeah, but
feasible.
look at what it is if you eat out every single day. Because, I mean, just to do quick math. So I think
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Welcome to Financial Mastery Simplified, your go-to podcast for making smart money decisions. We break down complex financial topics into easy-to-understand advice you can use every day. Our experts cover everything from budgeting and saving to investing and retirement planning. We give you the tools to take control of your money and build the future you want. With Financial Mastery Simplified, you'll feel informed and empowered to make the best choices for your financial health. Tune in to Financial Mastery Simplified on your favorite podcast platform. Start your journey to financial confidence today. Welcome to House U, where we believe in the power of education. At House U, we're more than just a brand. We're your partner in home ownership, dedicated to educating, equipping, and empowering you every step of the way. Education is at the heart of everything we do. We offer comprehensive resources designed to make home ownership simple and accessible for all. From understanding mortgage options to mastering home maintenance, House U provides the knowledge you need to make informed decisions with confidence. We host workshops and seminars, bringing together experts and community members to share insights and build a stronger, more informed community. Because when you're educated, you're empowered. House U, home ownership made simple for all. Visit our website or contact us today to start your journey with House U. Empower yourself with knowledge and embrace the joy of home ownership.
Thanks for your patience. Now back to our conversation.
let's say that you eat out just lunch and dinner for 2 people. So on average, it's probably about $15 a person, right?
Yep.
Times 2, so it's
Sounds about
$30 a meal times 2 meals. Let's say you're not eating breakfast or you're eating like a breakfast bar or something simple, right?
Right.
You take it, that's $60 a day. I mean, you're $1,800
Right.
a month at 30 days. I mean, that's so much money. I mean, a
Right.
lot of people under apartment rent is that much. You know what I mean? And so a
Mhm.
lot of people, it's one of the reasons that my girls, it was a requirement in our household that you had to learn how to cook.
Learn how to cook.
Maybe it wasn't your favorite thing. And you don't have to necessarily learn to cook anything like super fancy, but
Right.
you were going to learn to at least be able to cook so that if you were broke, you could scale back. Because it
Right.
is probably one of the biggest budget busters that people just don't really think a lot about. And a lot of it is a convenience factor, right? Like we live such really crazy, nutty lives that it's just
Yep.
hard. It's hard to do it, especially your generation. Like nothing would make me more mental than when my girls would order like DoorDash McDonald's.
I'm
Like
guilty.
for somebody who, first of all, I grew up in an era where like cell phones weren't even a thing until I pretty much became like driving-ish age. So
Yeah.
that wasn't even really a thing. And then I remember when the very first iPhone came out, because that was like a computer and a phone had a baby, and that was such a huge deal, right? Before
Mhm.
you could just make basic phone calls. It wasn't like anything exciting was happening besides
Right.
like just like a basic phone call. Now you can order whatever you want at any time of day practically and have
Right.
it delivered to you, but the cost is nuts. And
Yeah.
I hate cold food. So I'm like, why in the world would you want to pay for McDonald's, which is not even great for you anyway, and it's
Yeah.
expensive for what it is, then pay on top because you have to have it delivered to you, then tip that person, and your food's gonna be cold? Are you serious right now? I literally would look at my girls and I'd be like, you guys are so lazy. Get your butts in your cars and drive the 5 miles down the road to the nearest McDonald's, y'all. Like, whatever.
It's so funny that you bring up that situation because from October last year to like May this year, our entire kitchen was shut down. My parents redid their kitchen. They redid it. No stove, no microwave, nothing. Nothing. They'd work all day. They both work from home for the most part. My dad goes in like once a month, maybe to the office. But all we did was either DoorDash or pick up food. Mostly DoorDash. We mostly DoorDash. And that's just, we didn't have a refrigerator. We didn't have a microwave. We didn't have a stovetop. And my goodness, when I say it was a true blessing to finally get my kitchen back, I truly
yeah.
mean that. And I'm sure my parents' bills truly mean that. It's
I'm
just,
sure they do too.
we did DoorDash lunch, dinner for the most part every day, or picked it up. And we ate, I think she ruined a good solid 4 or 5 fast food restaurants for me just for like a year. Like I just can't eat it anymore just because like I already had too much of this. It's not even good for my body. It's not good for your bank account. It's not good for anything.
Yep.
So it's just, In
It
a
literally
hockey
blows my
too.
mind. Well, and so I'm temporarily displaced with my parents, and my parents also decided to do a kitchen remodel amidst all this other crazy town. And so we do have a fridge and there is a microwave, but that's basically it. And I
Hmm.
actually cook. I cook at my office.
Right.
And then a lot of times like in a crock pot or something and then bring it to the house because I can't do it. Like I
That's
can't eat out
funny.
all the time. Not
Right.
only is it just too much like food and like it's not great for me and it's so expensive, like I just can't do it. And you get to a point where you're just like, "Oh my gosh, this is the same crap again. Like I've
Right.
eaten this 40 times in the last 30 days. I just can't
Mhm.
do it anymore." And I know
Well,
some people can do that. Some people can eat the same thing every day. I'm not that girl. I need some
no.
variety in my life. I need
I
some variety,
I
but
mean, maybe Italian food. Maybe Italian food I could eat every single day. You can never go wrong with bread, pasta, pizza, any of that. I mean, it does get overbearing. That's why you just switch to the different type of, carb. You just switch over.
see, I'm a soup girly. I could eat soup every single day because there's so many different kinds, and there's like cold soup and hot soup and like everything in between. So that's what I could eat a lot of. And in fact, I was jokingly telling somebody the other day that we're in like and it probably we'll be in November by the time this airs, but Croctober season. And this is the season where you put all that soup into a crock pot and just let it cook and whatnot or whatever. But
I'm
yeah,
ready.
it's just crazy to me, like the difference of opinion on that. Because for me, like I said, I can't. I actually was trying to think the other day, unless I was putting in an order with other people, like they were actually
Hmm.
putting in the order. I have never placed a DoorDash, Uber Eats, any of those delivery ever. I
Really?
think the only thing I've ever had delivered has been
When you call the pizza store,
Asian
like, hey,
food
I
and
just need
pizza.
a.
Is probably it. Like the
Yeah.
traditional takeout foods, like what
Right.
prior to all the Uber Eats and all that stuff coming about. Yeah, I think that's
Right.
pretty much the only thing that I've ever eaten as like takeout. Because, like I said, again, I just don't love. I don't like cold food. It's like a huge
Hmm.
pet peeve of mine. Like I hate cold food. In fact, if you ever come eat at my house, you're gonna find out that if the soup wouldn't scald your mouth off, it's not hot enough, per my mother and my Oma. Like,
Oh,
not appropriate. Like, the soup should be at the level where you cannot eat it. And if it's not hot enough.
okay
So
then.
that's just how my family feels about soup. And so therefore we just can't, yeah, we can't do that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd prefer just to wait. 2 minutes. I'm not impatient. I can wait. I don't want to burn the taste buds right off my tongue. But yeah, just grocery prices. Back to that though. It's just insane. I mean,
They've gotten
couldn't
crazy.
considering that they used to probably be for what $600 is worth probably like 300 to 400. But yet, fast food they didn't really change that much. I mean, they may have changed like a dollar or two per menu item, but like compare, it's insane. And it's still like way less money to go to the grocery store than eating out, which is still funny because I thought that gap would have been a little closer with groceries and stuff like that. I mean, maybe it did get like a little closer, but not by the amount that I thought it would, considering the inflation on groceries.
Well, I did a whole episode by myself. It was actually the only solo episode I've ever done so far that was all about how I meal plan, how I
Hmm.
save money or whatever, because I'm very strategic. Because one thing that I've realized over the course of time is I'm hella good at stretching a dollar. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's because my mom, I always joke because my husband always teases me. He's like, "Oh, you were raised with a silver spoon." And I was like, "No, I wasn't." My mom raised us almost in a weird way, like we were poor. And that's because she came from nothing. And so she was obsessed with
Right.
making sure that that never happened again. So she was
Right.
very like by the book on everything. Every dollar she spent, everything was accounted for. Like
Hmm.
she knew where all of it was going and she was very strict about it,
Right.
right? I mean, like we never got to go to the movies, and if we did, we never had Coke and popcorn. Like that was not a thing because that was extra, and like we just didn't do that. Like that was just
That's
no
so
way.
funny.
That was not
Yeah.
happening,
Right.
kind of thing. And so she was so like picky about it. So I think out of that birthed this ability in me to be able to find creative ways to like save money. I actually
Hmm.
did the episode because a very good friend of mine, she had been struggling a lot with money.
Right.
and she was struggling with feeding all of her kids, and she had like taken in her nephew and stuff like that, and I was kind of helping her. Like I would, buy some groceries for them occasionally and this and that, and I would tell her, okay, so this is what I bought you and here's why, and I would like explain, right, like
Right.
what you can make with it, how you could kind of stretch that. And she was like, man, you're so good at this, how do you come up with all these ideas? And I'm like, I didn't think I was that good at it, but apparently that's just like my natural bent is I can figure out how to really stretch dollars when it comes to food. So it's
Right.
like a special gift that I have, I guess. But anyhow, but we are coming to the end of our time. So Ethan, tell everybody what you took away from this episode, where we can find you, if you have any special offers for
Mhm.
our guests, etc. And we will wrap up the episode.
Absolutely. So first of all, I need to learn about the stretching the dollar. I think that's something every generation needs to know, but I think that's something my generation lacks, and definitely lack at it as well. So stretching the dollar would definitely be the most important thing. But I'm Ethan Donovan with Donovan Creative Agency, where we do social media marketing, graphic design, video editing, and videography. If you look up donovancreativeagency.com, that's our website. It's also Donovan Creative Agency on Facebook. We are offering one special offer, which is a free consult call for all your social medias. My goal with that consult call is just to be able to optimize what you're already doing. And if you're not doing it, just get you to subtly encourage that into your business plan. So whether you're struggling with ideas to post, how to post it, where to post it, there's so many different aspects that come into social media. So my goal is just to make that easier on you and easier for you to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love that. And I mean, I will say that hiring somebody who's in the younger generation is a really good thing because you guys are way better at staying on top of the trends and the
Yep.
tricks and all of the things. So, us older folks, we have great perspective and great ability to do some other things. And I
Right.
definitely try my best to stay ahead of the trends, but I will not pretend like I am always great at that, which is why I have lots of great connections like Ethan to kind of help me keep me on my game. Well, we really appreciate your perspective and you being on this episode, and hopefully you found this helpful to get some different perspective from some different generations, and just understanding that you can do things however you like. Just make sure you're getting there intentionally and that
Mhm.
you are working to live your life on your terms. Thank you so much. See you next episode. Bye-bye.